Perfect. Welcome, welcome. All righty, let's get back to it. So I'm going to go over what is travel coaching and I'll tell you some more. But first, I want to talk a little bit about who I am. So for those who are new to hearing about the Travel Coach Network or me, I'm Sahara Rose DeVore. I am the founder of the Travel Coach Network, the TCN. I myself am a travel coach. I specialize in wellness and transformative travel for the corporate world. And what I mean by that is I provide education, insight, sessions, speakings to things like hotels, tourism boards, travel management platforms, business travel, and corporate wellness. I've been seen in various, as you see, outlets here for my expertise in travel, but I grew the Travel Coach Network because, and I'll share a little bit more of my story of where this idea even came from, more of my traveling days. But now the Travel Coach Network is an international global network that keeps on growing of just travel loving professionals, whether they're travel coaches, travel agents, travel professionals in general, all around the world, sharing the common love of travel and growing a business that's authentic to them. And that's the foundation of Travel Coach Network. So again, like I said, more about me. I started as just a budget backpacker hopping around the globe. I studied hospitality and tourism management in university. I went to Chicago for university, graduated in 2010 with a degree in hospitality and tourism management. At that time, I was very, very underwhelmed with the lack of options in the travel and hospitality industry. I was not interested in working in hotels. I didn't want to do what I learned was possible for myself. At 22, just coming out of university, I wanted to explore the world and learn more about myself and what I wanted out of life. And I didn't want to do what others said that was possible. I didn't want to be a flight attendant. I didn't want to do anything that allowed me to travel or work for a company that paid me to travel. I wanted to travel on my own time and be able to actually enjoy it. So I took a very unconventional route in life. I bought a one-way ticket to Ireland and I packed a bag and I set off to go and explore the world. I initially thought I was going to travel for just a month and a half in Western Europe. I realized how much I would love traveling and how beneficial it was on me, my well-being. Something about me I start talking about more and more is that I struggle with anxiety my whole life. So I was really not in a great headspace when I came out of university, and I wanted to really find who I was as a person and, just learn more about what's out there in the world and what's possible. So these are some photos from my adventures. I spent the next decade hopping around the globe to over 84 countries solo. And I am an only child from a single mom. I did not come from a family that traveled. I didn't come from parents that paid for travel. I was a broke college student, and I changed my mindset when it came to how I made money, how I saved my money, and how I managed my money. And before I knew it, I was able to afford my first couple of trips. And then I never worked while I traveled, but I would come back and make more money and then continue my travels. But I built a base in my finances that I was able to have this lifestyle for as long as I did and then build two businesses off of it. So when I was traveling, of course, I was exposed to all the new things in the internet. I would say I traveled during a really prime time in the industry. There was the rise of social media and Instagram, and I heard about blogging and all this good stuff. Yes, I had a blog. I had a blog to tell my mom I was still alive in places where I could barely find Wi-Fi when I first started. When I first started traveling, it was the times when I had a flip phone that didn't work and I had a paper map to navigate. And then towards the end of my journey, or nowadays, every app under the sun to help you plan, book, and navigate your way around the world. And so I got a really interesting perspective on those both sides. I was falling in love with the people I was meeting, the places I was seeing, and how travel really opened my eyes to I wanted more out of life. And that came into also what I wanted in a career. I realized for myself that the corporate world and having a schedule and just waking up not wanting to go to work, because I've done that in the past, working various jobs like restaurants and everything, where you're just getting up and you're like, oh, I hope they call me off, or, can someone cover my shift? I didn't want that forever for myself. And I still struggled for a really, really long time to figure out what my career path was, though. And because I was struggling for so long, I knew what existed, like travel agent work, which I personally, with my anxiety, I don't enjoy booking and planning trips for other people. I have experience in it, but it's just not my thing. And my blog was just something I did just to share my travel stories. I didn't monetize it and do anything while I traveled to make money. But I realized that I had to then, because I couldn't find what I was looking for, I had to create it myself. Hello to everyone who's new. Drop in the chat where you're tuning in from. Where in the world are you? Also, drop your Instagram to let us connect with all of you guys. I'll be sending out the transcript for the chat. So don't feel like you have to connect with everyone right away. I'll send this transcript with everyone's Instagrams and stuff and a follow-up email for all of you. Hello, hello. And so I had to create it myself. So about 4 years ago, I started my own business as a wellness travel coach. I realized by not only what I was experiencing in the world, but also back that with a few years of research I dove into the mental, physical, physiological health benefits of travel and how it was making an impact on people. I found it really interesting that I kept hearing in social media, I want to quit the corporate job to travel the world, or I did quit my corporate job to travel the world, or I wanted to be a digital nomad or have a freedom-based lifestyle. And I found it interesting that it was travel that people were turning to versus anything else. What was so powerful about travel that was having people make this big shift in their life or these dreams? And I found it interesting that companies were not tapping into that. So that's where I started my own travel coaching business. But the point here is the TCN, which attracted all of you because I found as I was traveling as a solo female budget backpacker, that there were certain things that I could talk about, that people would come and ask me questions. And I'm sure you, as avid travelers yourself, have gotten many friends, family, people online asking you for travel tips, advice, information, and you give it. So same thing with me. But of course, I could talk about anything about budget, female safety, solo travel, places I've been to in particular, pretty like what I could relate to. But then I started getting questions from people who I didn't have the answers to. So for instance, I would get questions from moms who are travelers with their children who wanted specific advice for traveling with their kids, or maybe it was couples that traveled together, or it was someone of another race or religion and asked me for my experience in a place. But I realized that my experience was going to be so different from theirs, so I couldn't give them, they couldn't use that information. But there was a whole world of travelers out there who didn't know they were experts yet, who did have those answers because I had met them. I met them in hostels and backpacking and on my journey. So I created the Travel Coach Network to bridge that gap between you travelers who don't know you're experts in something yet and those who have the questions. So that's where the TCN was born, as I was also growing my own travel coaching corporate business. So what are we going to expect for today? I'm going to kind of go over what is a travel coach in general to answer that question for all of you. To help you, I pulled out 5 of my most popular things that I talk about to the members of my travel coach certification program. These topics are things that I talk about in my social media, my emails. I constantly repeat this information because I found it was so effective for growing my own businesses 4 years ago. So I talk about these 5 things: how to find your niche and what that even means, how to create your framework and what does that mean, how to attract your target audience, how to become the go-to expert, and how to make money from your ideas. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Regina. Hi, Kimberly. Oh, it's so amazing to see familiar faces here and all of you new faces as well. Some of my new TCN ambassadors are here. Alrighty. Then after I talk about those, go in depth and talk about those 5 points for all of you, I'm going to introduce you to my dear friend, Mike, the founder of Travel with Meaning, Mike Scheibel, and I'll talk more about him. He's going to be talking everything about about transformative travel, meaningful travel, what that means, not only in the industry, but for you in particular and your own business. And I'll share more about Mike soon, but I'm excited about Mike, and I hope you are as well, because the whole concept of transformative travel is a hot commodity. But what does that really mean, and how can you implement that into helping grow your business? First, why though? Why did I even have this webinar in the first place? Like I said, yeah, I've had this a travel coaching webinar before, but this one is completely different because times are different. The travel industry, hospitality industry, wellness industry, all these industries have been shaken up, flipped upside down because of the pandemic. And for a lot of better too, it shined a lot of light on areas that are really, really important in the world. So things like people's mental health, the change in why people are traveling, how people are traveling, where they're traveling to, and not for the sake of restrictions, but the sake of why are people choosing to travel? What is it doing for them? The companies are caring more about the well-being of their employees. Topics like remote work has skyrocketed. And just the industries in general have just given a clean slate. So I want, if anything, for all of you to be inspired and to get some ideas of what direction that you could possibly go in with your love and knowledge of travel, and what impact can you make with that. So I'll share some more of my angles from the corporate space, but also the travel industry as well. And Mike is going to jump into that as also, because like I said, you might have heard the buzzwords of transformative, meaningful, purposeful, intentional travel. But what do those actually mean when it comes to the travelers, and how can that help shape the future of your business? So whether you're a travel agent, travel advisor, travel coach, travel professional, you have a travel business, or you're thinking about it and you're just getting started, there are going to be some key takeaways that you could implement into your business from this webinar. Stop this for a second. Alrighty, so let's get started. First of all, what is a travel coach? If you think you know what a travel coach is, drop it there in the chat. I'm interested to hear what you guys think as well. Have you heard of the word travel coaching? Give a thumbs up. If not, I know, because I am the founder of the Travel Coach Network, I've heard so many different messages from people of whether they've heard of travel coaching, what they think it is. But what I can honestly tell you is from my own experience. So when I started my businesses about 3.5, 4 years ago, and I honestly did not see the word travel coach anywhere. Where I got it from was I was sitting in the north of Spain in Bilbao, and I was sitting in my hostel, and I told myself, I'm 30 years old. I need to figure out my life and my career path. I have all this love and knowledge of travel, but I have to figure out what can I do with all this and what I want to do every day for the rest of my life when it comes to a job or a career. So I opened my laptop, and many of you probably experience this well. If you look up anything business, Facebook catches on to you. And I started getting pushed at me all these coaches. So business coach, life coach, every coach you can think of. So that was the first time I realized the potential or the growth in the coaching industry in general. And I said to myself, well, that's it. I want to be a travel coach. Like I said, I never saw it. It just clicked, and it was innate. It just felt right. So funny enough, I even registered my travel coaching business before I even went to Google and said, what is travel coaching, or what is a travel coach? And that was the other thing that's inspired the TCN, because when I started my travel coaching business, then I had someone reach out and said, oh, what is a travel coach? That sounds interesting. I might be doing it. I might be interested in doing it. I might already be doing it. Never heard the term. So when I finally Googled it, not only were there just like all these coach buses that popped up, there was like an article back in 2010 talking about from like Euromonitor, I think it was called, the potential of travel coaching. But that was about it. And instead of running from that idea, and this is something I want you guys to think about for yourself, instead of running from an idea that hasn't had proof before or no one has done before, don't wait for someone else to approve your concept. If you feel in your heart that there's a possibility for something or you're passionate about something, make it happen. So instead of running from it, I went right away and I said, I'm starting the Travel Coach Network. Don't know what this is going to look like in the future, but because people also, there must be a world out there too of other travelers like myself who wanted more out of a travel career than bloggings and bookings, or how to, what to do with all of that. So that's also kind of where the catalyst for the TCN was started. So within the Travel Coach Network, so as that grew, I realized that back then I could have just called a travel coach anything. I was just really just many people just reaching out saying that, oh, you must mean a travel agent. So that meant that I had to clarify what my messaging was for a travel coach. As the years went by, there's a lot, Forbes came out with an article, I think in 2016, I think, and a few years, maybe 2018, about the potential of travel coaching, or the hot trend of travel coaching, I think it's called. There was a couple other articles and outlets that came out with it. And of course, everything else was the TCN. And therefore, the term travel coaching was growing. And I realized there's a couple different definitions out there, people who coach travel agents, stuff like that. So within the Travel Coach Network, a travel coach, it's a pretty broad concept, honestly. It's anyone who's passionate about travel, finding and building a business that relates to them. And I tell those in my network, those who finished my certification program, I could care less if you even called yourself a travel coach, because honestly, in your business, your title's going to evolve over time. It doesn't matter what you call yourself. I've changed my title 5 million times. So it doesn't matter whether you call yourself an advisor, a coach, a counselor, a consultant, or you just take this concept and you put it into your agency or your tour operator, or whatever it is that you want to do with your love of travel. That's the point. It's you doing something with your love and knowledge and passion for travel in an authentic and effective way. It's a pretty long definition of a travel coach, but in the TCN, it's just really you being supported to make something with your love and knowledge of travel. Of course, it has the coaching aspect, which means that is just really getting to know your clients on a more personal level, really reshaping what personalized and customized experiences even mean. All right, so how to find your niche. You probably think of niche. I honestly, and I say this many times, I think I did a social media post recently. I don't like to say the word niche. I just don't really know what else to say. So sometimes I say like your area of focus. But really what that means is you finding what is your background, what are your experiences, what are you interested in? What is that you know and love most about travel? What do people come to you for? What is your vision for your business? What kind of holes and voids and shortages have you realized in the industry? What kind of problems did you come across? Like me, when I was traveling, I was like, there must be something more. When I Google like a travel business, I only get the basics of a travel blogger, an influencer, a travel agent, a flight attendant, working in hotels. What else is there? And that was a void that I saw in the industry. There must be something more. So maybe you are a traveler who realized that there's not enough information about people traveling with disabilities or dietary restrictions, or traveling with as a certain belief system or a race or cultural barriers. Whatever it is that is personal to you, what can you use with that? Because that's how you're also going to attract your ideal audience, as we're going to talk about here. What is it that you believe in about travel? What is it that you want people to know and believe in about travel? What I wanted to have people understand, that travel isn't anecdotal, that it helps with healing. For me to share that travel helped me cope and manage my anxiety, that's anecdotal. That's just my opinion. It's my experience. I back that by research and say, look at all these studies for decades that show that travel, sitting by bodies of water called blue spaces, can help you decrease your stress hormones and boost your happiness hormones. There's science around it. I wanted people and companies to understand that and implement that to help combat corporate wellness and business travel fatigue. So what is it that you are passionate about and want to know, or want people to know? Also, what trends are happening? There's no better time than now to be creative. Companies are listening, people are listening, people are traveling, people want to travel. Yeah, it's going to look different, but what is it that you can do with maybe your travel hacking? Maybe you help people save money, travel. Maybe you help people travel luxury, but on like a budget, whatever it is that you help people with. Maybe it's helping people have solo excursions, have escapes, because let's face it, we've all been through a lot this past year. Emotionally, spiritually, mentally, travel helps with that. How can you turn something into this knowledge and help people in a way that really makes you happy and makes an impact on them? So with trends like remote work, there's people in my program in my network who help people moving abroad, studying abroad. There's no better time than now that companies are, it's mandatory in a lot of companies. It's temporary, it's hybrid. How do people adjust to new cultures traveling? How do people adjust to new environments? Traveling sounds great, right, to everyone, but as avid travelers, you know that it's not easy to change locations all the time, to be productive in your work when you're in a new place and all that. You want to go see new things and be with new people. How do they stay focused? How do they be productive? Science shows that it can help boost productivity, creativity, innovation levels. But I'm not here to tell you what to focus on and what to do, but I want to inspire you to do your research, to open your eyes, open your ears to the possibilities of what you could do with your love of travel. How to create your own framework. So a framework, this is the foundation of what I talk about over and over again to those in my network and my programs. This is what helped me. And you can call it a structure, you can call it an outline, whatever it is you want to call it, a framework. I call it framework. So when I started my business, both of my business 4 years ago, I was combining them. I knew that travel, I wanted to help people with travel. I wanted to inspire people. I want to educate people. I knew that I could help anyone from people who were backpackers to people in the corporate world and business travelers. I had a lot of ideas. And until I started honing down and saying, okay, now I need to start sending my message, I didn't know what to say because I had so many ideas. I didn't know how to focus it. So I had to create a framework. And what that means is putting structure to your ideas that helps you then scale. And that was the turning point for both of my businesses. Not only did I realize that it was 2 businesses that I had, but I was able to target multiple audiences, in particular for my corporate side, and how to fragment them. That made sense for me. Your framework's for you, it's not for anyone else. It's to help you make sense and organize your ideas for your business. So quick little session for you to do. And again, these are all in your workbooks I sent you have access to in Kajabi. I want you to take a piece of paper or a Word doc and just spill it all your ideas out on it. So write down everything you know about travel, you love about travel, you've experienced, you realized, you want people to know, things that you've gone through, anything about travel. Go through those, and you want to eliminate anything you're like, well, I'm not interested in that. Because honestly, for me as a budget solo female backpacker, I'm not interested in talking about budget travel. That's why I wrote a book on it. I'm not interested, so I could just send my book that way. I'm not interested in talking about female safety. Yeah, I can answer questions, or if people want to interview me on it, fine. But I'm not passionate about talking about those things. I like the wellness side of it, the experience side of it. And so eliminate anything you're not interested in. Then you want to group similar concepts or ideas together. As you do that, you'll start finding common themes. Within those themes, you can then create a phrase or keywords or one word. So you can find this on the Travel Coach Network website. I share this in my programs, my framework that has things like education, hyper-personalization, well-being. And those are all parts of my framework. I have a 9-step framework. For instance, education. Education is going to look different for those when I talk about in the Travel Coach Network. Education is going to look different for the information I provide for business travelers, for corporate wellness, for hotels, tourism boards. But for me, I have concepts under education that I can now go and pluck out of them and say, okay, this audience relates to this. That doesn't make sense. reach out to me, let me know if you need more further explanation, but you want to put structure to your ideas, simplify it, make it easy for yourself. So then any opportunity that comes along, you're able to then pull from that and say, well, what can relate to the audience? What pieces of my framework? You can create courses from it, programs from it, have interviews from it. I always turn to you. Your framework's never going to change. This is the foundation of your ideas and your concepts. You'll add stuff to it, but the foundation is never going to change. So you can pull from it always. So how to create your framework. I'm sorry if I'm going kind of fast. I'm excited for Mike to provide value for you guys as well. And I don't want to keep you guys all here too long. How to attract your ideal audience. You might feel in travel, and you can be feeling really stuck on this, is that, well, what I do and what I talk about can serve anyone who has to do with travel. From a business standpoint, that's not very wise and can get you feeling really stuck. And when you're stuck, you tend to not be as productive because you just don't know what direction to go in. So you want to kind of narrow down as much as you can. And then when you're able to identify who your ideal audience is, think about who relates most to you, who you care about helping, who do you want to help. And think about as well, and this is something that I've been talking a lot about, the old school way that we thought of demographics or finding your niche is throw that out the window. There's no such thing as grouping people together by age, income levels, gender. When you think of someone who wants to travel, a certain travel experience, that group is going to look different. They're going to be men, women, different genders. They're going to be different ages, families, single. They're going to look different. So throw that concept of old school demographics out the window and think about what type of person, what kind of pain points does this person have that you want to solve? Who wants something similar that you've done, you've achieved, you've accomplished in your life? Because that is how people are going to choose you and resonate and connect and follow you, is because they admire what you've done, what you've gone through, what you've achieved, and what you do now. How can you help them? Who do you envision yourself helping and why? Why them versus anyone else? Where do they hang out, in person and virtually? That's really important for attracting ideal audience. There's so many platforms to be on these days. You don't need to be everywhere. So figure out what platform, social media, what kind of events, what articles, what does your ideal audience spend their time reading, listening to, interacting on, and how can you, and that's where you're going to want to put your focus. Just because TikToks is a hot commodity, if your ideal audience is not on TikTok, don't waste your time creating TikToks. What solution, transformation, or outcomes are you helping people with? You have to identify that, because that's the messaging that you're going to be sending out, because your ideal audience is going to hear that and say, yes, I can relate to that. They must be speaking directly to me. That is that's the transformation. That's the lifestyle. That's the experience that I'm looking for. That's who I want to be. To become the go-to expert, think about what is it that you want to be known for? What is your message? Think about the core ideas and messaging from your framework. You can easily plug those out. That framework is really, really essential. You want to be consistent in your efforts as well. Don't just show up every now and then, put your messaging out there and disappear. You have to make it consistent. That's in your business. You have to figure out, how much time do I want to dedicate to something? And I understand everyone has busy lives and you have other things going on as well, maybe another job or career, you're transitioning to having your own business. You have to set time aside for yourself, schedule that into your calendar if need be. Build relationships and network. Relationships are so essential, not only through mentorship and opportunities, but also spreading word of mouth of you. You have to spend time building relationships. You should be building a business with the foundation of building authentic, genuine relationships in the first place, but putting yourself out there to network. So when you're comfortable and you're able to go to in-person events, whether it's related to travel or business or women in business or whatever it is, there's so many opportunities. You can do it virtually right now. There's tons of free things going on. Connect with one another. Here in the chat, drop your Instagram, connect with one another, learn from one another. Spread your message and get visible. One of the key things that helped me grow my businesses as quickly as I did was media publicity. I share that a lot of tips with those in my network in my program. A few examples are to create a Haro account, helpareporterout.com, or it might be helpareporter.com. I think they changed it. It's a free profile. Editors already with concepts, and you can check like travel, lifestyle, whatever business. You get emailed, and that's a nice way to already hear topics and then pitch your idea. Good way to start getting media publicity. I know it can sound like, oh, I'm not ready to get media publicity, but I promise you it's never too early. I started doing this it's one of the first things I invested in. And it's to learn how to do this. It comes over time with practice. But you have to identify what your messaging is in the first place. It doesn't matter who you're pitching to or what you're sending out there if you don't know what you're talking about in the first place and why it matters and who your ideal audience is. So you have to narrow that down first. Thrive Global is another free platform. They of course prove it, but it's a great way to also get started. Medium.com is like a self-publishing, and of course having a blog is really important too, just to have another place with your messaging. Social media, figure out what platforms are best for you and your ideal audience. If you're in the travel space, Instagram, Facebook are fantastic. You should be on there unless your audience is the corporate world. Whether it is corporate world or not, I would really recommend getting your LinkedIn updated or for your business. If you're in another company, I understand the limitations, but do what you can and network and get your name and your message out there. You never know who's following you and watching what you're doing. Be a guest on podcast, reach out to podcasts or blogs that you admire, that you follow, and find ways to get involved in organizations, associations, whether they're free or paid, to grow your network. I'm a member of the Global Business Travel Association very early on in my business, and that helped me grow my business in the sense of networking and opportunities and just a foundation to grow my network with the industry leaders over there. So I don't know where my corporate business would be without being involved in something like that. But there's tons of associations and things out there. Lastly, how do we make money? This is a great question, and this is something that people often jump far enough ahead. I like to say that it doesn't matter what revenue streams you create. You shouldn't even be thinking about that yet, because unless you build a foundation for your business, including what area of expertise you have, who your ideal audience is, what outcome, problem, solution you're solving, what transformation you're providing, what platforms you're going to show up on, building a business in the first place, you have to have an audience and potential clients and customers before you have something to sell anyways. So this is something that comes up later down the road, but think about for yourself, what's the bigger vision for your business? How big do you want it? How small do you want it? Do you want to do one-on-one? As a travel coach, because the word coach is in there, you do not have to do one-on-one coaching. I know, shocker, right? But I don't do one-on-one coaching except for those in my certification program. The corporate world, I don't do one-on-one coaching just because I'm a coach. What is it that interests you? What do you want to do? What skills are you good at? Do you want to write? You want to do videos? You want to create content? Do you want to create a course, a program? Do you want to serve groups of people? Do you want to do speakings? Do you want to do work for the corporate world and create something, a product or service for them? Is it for individuals? Is it for moms? You have to identify all of these things first before you can figure out, okay, what is it actually I'm going to create, or what service am I going to provide? Also, how much time do you want to put into something? Having one-on-one sessions or live sessions, that's going to take more of your personal time. If is something like a product, an online product you create, you can streamline it a lot easier. Do you want to create passive income of some sort? Do you want to toy around and mix it up and create various revenue streams, which is wise? Anything is possible, but you have to build that foundation first before you can identify these. And then lastly, I always say, do your research. What that means is read articles, attend webinars, stuff like this. Go to free events, what's going on in the industry, and not just the travel industry, but any industry you might be interested in. So whether it's the wellness, whether it's sustainability, whether it's the corporate, whether it's for parents, any of these industries, what research is happening, what conversations is happening, what is going on, because you never know when you'll get a light bulb idea and say, or you'll find common problems or common themes and say, well, that's something I see a lot in, I want to create a solution for that. Or that is obviously a hot topic, I want to be involved in this. Do your research. I did that for a few years, and that's what helped me go towards the corporate route, which, because I never went the corporate route, I don't relate to people in the corporate world, but I saw massive, massive holes and learned about the industry. Never know what's happening in what you can do with your business. Be more interested than interesting, which is something that a mentor of mine, David Meltzer, always says. So now I want to introduce you to Mike. I am so thrilled to introduce my dear friend and colleague, Mike Scheibel. He's the founder of Travel with Meaning and the host of the Travel with Meaning podcast. He's a SoCal native, an ocean lover, open road seeker, community connector, marketing disruptor, and the guru of optimism. I know you're going to love him. So Mike, I am going to hand it all over to you to talk about transformative and meaningful travel.
Thank you so very much. I'm going to do a little screen share here. Wait till.
There you go.
Cool. All right. We should be good. First off, hello, everybody. I'm just honored and grateful to be here with all of you today. I know we got some great people just tuning in from around the world. So just thank you so much for your time on this beautiful Saturday, or whenever you're watching, wherever you are. And I imagine that some of you who are attending, you've been touched by travel in some way. Much like Sahara and myself, we're both passionate about travel. Both of us actually found a calling to do something in the travel and hospitality world that was completely outside of the traditional norm. And much like Sahara and myself, our work is profoundly important and frankly, really needed right now for each of us in our own way, for healing and for growth. And I'm coming to you this morning, or wherever you are watching this or on the replay, from Santa Monica, California. My name is Mike Scheibel, and I'm the founder of Travel with Meaning, a lifestyle and content brand, connecting people through sharing authentic and inspiring travel stories. I'm the founder of the Travel with Meaning podcast, and right now I'm coming to you from Santa Monica, California. Now, what started as a passion project for me has really turned into a powerful conversation. Looking at ourselves and travel as we prepare to reemerge in this new dawn of travel. And I would probably guess that some of you who are watching this, either you work in the travel industry, or perhaps you're just travel curious and you're considering taking the TCCP course to become a travel coach, or you're already in the course and you want to be able to use your knowledge and your passion in travel to help others. Well, you're in the right place. And honestly, thank you for joining us for this conversation. So over the next 25 minutes or so, depending on how excited I actually get, I'm going to share with you an overview of Travel with Meaning, what I've learned from interviewing extraordinary travelers, and how this could benefit you, your business, and the future of travel. Now, we're all different. We come from different places, we have different backgrounds, but we have this common bond in travel. And when I used to go to networking events in LA for the travel industry, I was always just amazed that nobody ever talked about their travel stories, the places they went, or the people they met, those experiences that actually help propel them to want to be in the travel industry. So to kick us off, what I would love for you to do is I'd love to know about your passion in travel. And I'm going to ask you just 2 questions. I'd love for you to drop in the chat box and also just put your name with it as well so we can acknowledge you. So the first question I'm going to ask you is, where do you want to go? What's that bucket list place you've always said, I want to go this place? And then as a passionate traveler, where do you tell people to go? Now, using travel as that beacon and connector, for all of us as like-minded travelers, we know that travel has the ability to move, touch, and inspire us. But how do we recognize these meaningful moments? And most importantly, what do we do with them? So I'm here today to start the conversation of how to travel with meaning. Let's see a couple of these answers really quick. Colombia, Portugal, Greece, Cambodia from Shelley. Hey, Shelley, so your goal is to finally go to Paris. Awesome. Bucket list destination for Katie. Africa, they're coming in fast. So I'm trying to stay on those. Thank you guys for adding those. I think it's wonderful as our community to keep looking at some of those answers. I'd love to share a little bit of my backstory with all of you, if you're okay with that. This is me throughout a couple different chapters in my life. You can see the facial hair has changed a couple times, and so has my hairline. Now, travel for me really, well, I grew up in a suburb of LA called Pacific Palisades. It's nestled between Santa Monica and Malibu. Honestly, it's a pretty sweet place to grow up. But all I want to do is leave. All I ever want to do is just leave and explore and try new things and new places. And a lot of that came from my parents, but mainly my mom. My mom just instilled a wanderlust in me at a very early age. I would just remember her coming back from trips with epic stories and gifts from Africa or London or Paris or Scotland. Mom just planted these little seeds in me. And my brother and I got to go on trips with my parents growing up. We were lucky, but honestly, I didn't have the appreciation. I didn't have the understanding, and I just didn't have the gratitude at that time. So senior year of high school, I spent half the year just focused on rallying my friends. We were going to Europe when we graduated. We were going to create these moments and these memories together. I had just expectations and fantasies of roaming the streets and going to pubs. But when it came down to it, everyone else backed out. Nobody wanted to go. They wanted to just stay home. But I went solo. I was completely nervous and really unsure. But all I wanted to do was explore. I wanted to have these experiences. I wanted to meet new people. And part of this trip was solo. Part of this trip was with a small group. And this trip blew me wide open. It opened me up to new things. And from that trip, I was literally determined to get back to Europe, which I did 2 years later, studying abroad in London. And if I thought that first trip really blew me open, living in a foreign city as a local is one of the most empowering experiences you can have. Exploring on the weekends or extended trips completely changed everything for me. It was just a game changer in how I viewed myself and how I viewed the world, frankly. After college, like many people, I chased a career. I chased money, spent many years as a successful talent agent and manager in Hollywood, representing host talent and experts, newscasters, musicians, magicians, slanging whatever, TV shows, whatever it was, I was all over it. I'd watched way too many episodes of Entourage and actually thought that you had to be Ari Gold, like an asshole, to be happy and to be successful. I was completely wrong. And after getting dumped by two of my best clients, closest friends, I was at a crossroads. I didn't know who I was. I had a failed marriage. I was depressed. I was overworked. I didn't know myself. I needed to find purpose, meaning, myself. And so I sold everything I had and I bought a one-way ticket to Australia, setting out on what I called my grateful journey without knowing anyone or really having any kind of a plan. And that website, My Grateful Journey, it's still up. You can check it out. No judgment on those early blogs or conversations. But that's kind of where it all came together for me. And as a solo traveler, I needed to find a way to break the ice with people. And so I started interviewing different people, random strangers who then would become friends. And I'd ask everyone the same three questions. What inspires you? What are you grateful for? And what does travel mean to you? You see, making friends along the way and learning about different cultures and communities and different people and gaining the knowledge, I realized that no matter who you are or where you come from, we all have similarities. And travel, it connects us. It bonds us. And when I finally decided to return home almost a year later, I returned from my hero's journey, where I'd conquered my fears, reemerging a better version of myself than I really ever knew existed. And I was excited. I was super excited to be home, see all the people I knew before, and just be this new version of myself. But I assumed everything would change magically because I had this incredible journey. But there was still so much work to do. I'm back in LA. I'm looking for a job again. And really, nothing had changed, especially me. I love this quote that I want to share with you because I think it kind of fits me perfectly. And it's not that I have like zero talents. I'm moderately good at some things, but I've always just been a little more curious than good at one thing. And so I began showing all this incredible footage and these interviews that I captured from my travels with friends. And I started putting some of it on social media. Now, this was early social media. There was no TikTok or Instagram or no Snapchat for that matter. And quite honestly, I shared these clips and I had expectations. I had expectations that people were going to see these clips and they were going to be so moved, just like I was when I was having these interviews, that they were going to be inspired to travel. I truthfully, it was my expectations. It was this thing I started putting on myself. And I thought this was going to be huge. I thought it was going to explode. And if there's one thing I've ever learned from working on different brands and digital marketing or digital media, it's that you could have heartfelt intentions, but if the authenticity isn't real, then there's no chance it's going to go viral or anything of that matter. There was definitely something missing, right? To connect with people on certain levels. And it's not that I wasn't authentic in what I was doing, completely authentic, but my expectations of what I wanted this content to do, that was my old talent agent mentality, right? Making that happen. That's what I thought, expectations. See, this content was really personal to me. It was my story. It was my journey. It was my growth. And I began working for a hospitality group called Cafe Gratitude. Some of you might or you might not know. It's a vegan concept. I actually knew these guys before I went traveling, and it felt like a really good connection for me when I came home. One of the things I really loved about being at Cafe Gratitude was the connection to community. And one thing we would do with all our diners is we would ask everyone the question of the day. And I was starting to find parts of what I was missing from traveling in these conversations with people. And I realized I didn't have to travel around the world to have meaningful conversations or connections. And this is kind of where I had this big idea. And I started hosting these Travel Talk Live events where I could share some of my stories and my experiences and the videos. And I'd invite friends, some of my friends who are amazing professionals and incredible travelers. And I'd interview them to hear about their adventures and meaningful stories. And this was the big moment for me. This became the cornerstone of what is travel with meaning. It wasn't about me. It was about we. And this is why I like Sahara and what the Travel Coach Network is, because it's about empowering other people to find what works for them. I became uber curious to hear other people's travel stories. And I was convinced that no matter who you are in the world, you've had a travel story that's impacted your life and your career. And my Travel Talk Live guests started feeling this when they were sharing their stories. They were so moved from thinking of past nostalgia from a trip or even being in the present moment. And our attendees were also finding this same inspiration in hearing stories, thinking of their own travels. Travel Talk Live grew, turned into a podcast, created partnerships with tourism boards and hospitality brands. And I was starting to feel that same excitement in these conversations that I did from my grateful journey. Perhaps more importantly, I started to hear these common themes shared amongst like-minded travelers as part of their meaningful journeys. There was just incredible energy that was happening at these events and in these conversations. But instead of me just telling you about it, I'm going to share a short little video with you from Travel Talk Live. My name is Mike Scheibel. I'm the founder of Travel with Meaning. This is where we come together as a community of like-minded travelers to hear stories that have impacted the lives and the careers of our guests. I'm curious what travel means to you.
I think it's a way for you to learn about yourself.
When are you your best self and where are you your best self? And
for me, travel and time in the wilderness is very much, it's an outlet for my spirituality.
Travel for me it had to be with intention. For me, that was the catalyst. It wasn't on a trip, but it was realizing that I had taken these incredible trips and not really taken advantage of them.
Travel is obviously really beautiful and amazing when your bubbles popped and your whole life is questioned, and you question your beliefs, you question your identity, you question everything you know, and mostly it changes you because it challenges you. And when you're challenged, you change, right?
I love that line. When you're challenged, you changed. So let's break down this word in front of us right here, travel with meaning, because there's two real big parts to it. Let's start with travel. Now, have you ever looked up travel in the dictionary? Travel is defined by Webster's to go from one place to another, typically over a distance of some length. Interesting. Now, I think all of us can say that we've had to re-examine what travel is for us over this past year due to the pandemic. And I think we can probably all agree that it's much bigger than just getting on a plane, going somewhere around the world, or frankly, going anywhere. Now, this is one question I ask every one of my guests, Travel Talk Live or the podcast. What does travel mean to you? So as I play this short video of some of our past guests, and you'll probably recognize some renowned photographers or TV hosts or TV personalities, chefs, I want you to think about and also drop in the chat box. What does travel mean to you? We're in this conversation right now. We've looked at it so different from the past year. So let's watch this short video. And I'd love to see your answers as well.
Means ideally just anything that I think takes you to an internal place of thinking about who you are. It doesn't have to be really anywhere. Often the deepest journey you'll ever take will be probably the internal one.
well, to me, it means connection and empathy and just having a deeper understanding for the world that you can take home with you.
Travel to me means connection. It just means the opportunities at new connection with humanity and with myself.
about experiencing new places, truthful stories, and meeting new people.
Travel to me means life. Go see it, get out there. Don't stay in the bubble.
Travel means I'm disconnecting from my life to connect with other people's lives, to come home and dive deeper into my own. So it helps me discover who I am more and help by discovering who everyone else is.
All right, I see some answers coming in. I want to see what people say, what travel means to them. Travel is meditation to me, a life-changing force that transforms my life every time I go on a long trip. Lovely. Travel means connection, learning from others about new cultures, exploring. Love that. Travel for me is freedom and healing. Beautiful. Thank you everyone so much for sharing. And yeah, I invite you to keep thinking about that. It's a pretty powerful thing once you think about it, especially what we've been going through this past year. So let's look at the second half of this word right here. This is kind of the big part, right? So let's talk about meaning for a moment. And when I first launched Travel with Meaning, I had a lot of people say to me, what is meaning? Like I had found this secret sauce that we're all searching for in life. Like, what is meaning? And I'll tell you the same thing now that I told people 5+ years ago when I first started doing these conversations. What do you want it to be? You see, traveling with meaning is personal. And as much as it's personal, I've received emails from past guests and attendees who've listened to these episodes of other people sharing their stories, and something's moved inside them, and often saying to me how these stories and conversations had such a profound effect on them that they were creating their own meaning from hearing other people's stories to be reminded of their own. It was hosting these conversations and growing a community of like-minded travelers through these authentic conversations that I've been able to grow Travel with Meaning and have relationships with organizations like the Transformational Travel Council or Impact Travel Alliance, Leave No Trace, and the amazing Travel Coach Network. It's actually propelled me to bring on a whole team of college interns who are working with me on this work to not only tell meaningful stories, but to be part of this incredible research that we're doing for finding meaning within these conversations that we've found. And quite honestly, this has all become more important to me than defining a traditional ROI. It was about the trust and the belief of just forging ahead for myself of what this really was. And from the hundreds of guests that I've interviewed or talked to on the road, I started to hear these organic themes show up over and over again. And maybe you've listened to one of my past podcasts and you've heard me talk about the principles or the steps. And you probably have heard me get super excited because I just kept hearing these things and it was like, there it is again. I've heard this. Somebody said it. Jason Mraz said this, or, Kelly Balhakis Hanks said this, or all these people started saying all these incredible things together. But there were these similarities I keep saying from their meaningful stories. And what I realized is that if one person is going to say, hey, try this restaurant, you'll consider it. But if 2 people, if 5 people, if 10, if 20 people are saying the same thing to you, you have to stop and say, I think there's something here. Now, I told you about my grateful journey and how that trip and those interviews really is where the inspiration for this whole thing came from. And it is the cornerstone and foundation for what I've been doing with Travel with Meaning. And I'll tell you that a lot of those first conversations of inspiration and gratitude and meaning are a lot of the same things that my guests still say now. And so I'm going to share a video with you from that trip. And the beauty of this and these conversations is they look like they could have been yesterday, but they're not. But the messages and the meaning are maybe more relative now than ever before. So watch this video and tell me what you think. Question I would love to ask you is, what inspires you?
Oh, nature. If you want to know the answer to any question at all in the entire universe, no point asking Jesus or a philosopher or any of those people. They don't know anything. Stand in the corner, they're all dummies. If you want to know the truth, ask nature. She'll tell you the truth every time.
When you go out, and I always told my kids, travel makes the world and your life experience much more rich, much richer experience. So I'm just trying to eat my own words, and it's neat.
Good people, just open people, and adventure inspires me. Yeah.
To what inspires me?
Yeah.
Waking up and having a great time, and people's stories and pretty much natural things inspire me.
Seeing people do things that are outside their comfort zone. Extremely nice individuals. I like people who do things for other people.
What inspires me? I guess a thirst for knowledge and experiences, seeing things that I've never seen before, see as much as I can before I die.
What inspires you?
Life, people, this amazing country inspires me.
Traveling to me is going somewhere, experience some of the culture. Some of it I don't like the culture, but it's their culture, and sometimes when you see something you don't like, you learn from it.
Drink inspires me. Basically, I was at home, I was miserable doing my job and stuff, and I had no motivation and stuff. And I think basically traveling basically inspires me because I want to get out there, do things, I want to get more confident in myself.
Traveling means everything to me, actually. I get the best out of life while I'm traveling. I seem to stagnate if I stay in one place. Traveling keeps me young, gives me something to do, gives me a purpose in life, and brings me a lot of joy.
Brings me a lot of joy. That last gentleman, actually, I had met him in northern Laos, and he was staying at this hostel, and he built a bar for these people that was called Bar Joy. I want to actually just read a few more of the wonderful answers that came in from travel, and I want to just point something out. So thank you, everyone who's answered this. For me, it was somebody said healing, self-discovery, and connection. Another answer was travel is making connections with the world to become more compassionate, empathetic, and gracious person. Thank you, everyone, so much. But I just want to point out again, there's nobody has ever said it's about going just not more than just the word travel or what we think Webster's is defining it as. Who knows? Maybe this is all part of redoing what the definition of travel should be. Now, these words on the screen, these are the foundations for all the conversations I've ever had. This is where the research of how to travel with meaning really comes in. So, how do you travel with meaning? It's bigger than just applying one of these words, and it's more important than just having this conversation. You see, these are where the stories and the transformation begin. But before we can even look at the how, we have to talk about the why. Why do you travel with meaning? This actually comes from identifying your personal story. You, the traveler, the individual. And just a newsflash reminder for all of you, I don't actually have these answers. I've compiled this incredible data from all my guests. You have the stories. You have these meaningful moments. We're actually not going to let you just wander alone. Principles that we'll share will help you identify it. But also, as any great traveler, you know, not all who wander are lost. So the principles and the stories, they'll give you moments or a moment. How did it impact you? How did that adventure help you grow? How do we then frame that for the future? One thing I've heard from a lot of my guests, and you heard from a few of these people in these interviews we just shared was it's not where you go, but who you meet along the way. It's actually a quote from The Wizard of Oz, and pretty apropos if you think about it for the whole journey as a whole. And sometimes we have an experience traveling that doesn't make sense or doesn't even come full circle until years later. My partner, Nicole, and I were actually in Boulder years ago at a conference. And we met this wonderful couple who had a sustainable hammock company that they started this idea from traveling in Thailand. We love these guys. We had a great time. We hung out. We talked about life. People got busy. We actually never got their contact information, and such is life. You kind of move on. Fast forward to almost 5 years later, I'm at a dinner party in Venice Beach, and I'm sitting next to a gentleman who's got a great beard. I mean, obviously we bonded right away, right? And once he told me his name and what he did, I knew this was my long lost hammock friend. And we've been friends ever since. We hang out quite often. But why am I telling you this? Well, here's the deal. As one thing I've ever learned is it might not make sense when you're going through it, and adopting a self-care practice in yourself is a big part of a fulfilling journey. Now, I know this might sound a little woo-woo. Yeah, I did work at Cafe Gratitude, let's not forget. But truly, I'm here to help empower you and to help you become the best version of yourself, and everyone who you come in contact with become better for it. Here's one more big element that I want to share with you. Is you don't actually need to be a crazy traveler. You actually don't need to go anywhere. Much like Chris Burkard said in the earlier video, sometimes the deepest, sometimes the best journey, sometimes the greatest journey, I should say, the greatest journey you could ever have is the inside job. Think about that. That's deep. And that has nothing to do with the definition of travel. What are these benefits that we're talking about from these stories, these meaningful moments? How does it impact you, your business, your clients as a travel coach, travel advisor, tour operator, hotelier? It's about having a clear understanding of your meaningful moment to be able to share that from a vulnerable, authentic space, and to allow the transformation to happen. And so you can relate that back to your business and then help your clients to also be able to identify what is their unique, personal, meaningful moments as well. So I'm going to touch on these principles coming up when Sahara and I will talk about what's up for next steps. I wanted to share one thing with everyone is, you've heard me say this a couple of times, that this work has become profoundly important to me. And truly, it's become my calling. Once I figured out, I got my ego out of the way and I moved my expectations over there. And that's truly has just been about connecting with amazing community of like-minded travelers. I have on the screen for you all, you can actually hold your phone up to the QR code, check out our website. You can subscribe to our podcast, which I would be grateful for. It's available on all major streaming platforms. And maybe there's a story in there that you'll connect with. Maybe it's from Davis Smith, the CEO of Cotopaxi, or it's Chef Eric Ajapan, who was on Top Chef, or artist Ruben Rojas. I don't know, but I'll tell you these principles, they will have something for each and every one of us as travelers. And maybe you will listen to one of my past podcasts and you'll hear me literally jump up and down like a 5-year-old because I heard it again. And I knew that there was something bigger and deeper and more meaningful than just getting on a plane and going somewhere. Thank you so much for listening to me share about my passion, about my connection, and about the importance to me about this community of like-minded travelers. I'm going to turn this back over to Sahara, and then we're going to tell you a little bit more about what's coming up and how we hopefully could all, have more deep and meaningful conversations together. Sahara, I'm going to unshare my screen and send that back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Those videos really made put a smile on my face, Mike. Your story is just really inspiring, and I absolutely loved reading everyone talking about what travel meant to them. And because as we know, travel means something different to everyone. And I love that you touched on how travel can how they can implement this into their business, because that's why we're here. We're all travel professionals, or we have a business, or we're looking to grow our business when it comes to travel. And meaningful travel and transformative travel means something to you as an individual, as you as the business owner, and it's up to you to figure out what does that look like, so you can then sculpt your marketing, figure out your ideal audience, and then build your revenue streams, and move on from there. So many of you have already heard of the travel coach certification program because many of you are already in it. I love seeing those who are here. But if you haven't heard about, well, I'm sure you have heard about, because I've said certification program, this is what I was referring to. So I run a ICF accredited certification program for travel coaches. It's the only one in the world that exists. And it's a self-paced, it focused on three main things. And the reason I'm talking about this is because this is an opportunity that comes very rarely. It's a time for you to come in at a fraction of the price of what it usually is. And I designed the travel coach certification program because it's exactly what I was looking for when I was just that backpacker trying to figure out my own career path. And then when I was an early entrepreneur, how do I make sense of all of this? How do I put structure to my ideas? How do I build an actual business and move and grow it from there? I put everything into this program, my heart, my soul, which is why you see many of these beautiful messages I receive from people in my network every single day that really makes my heart smile. If I can make an impact in any single way, it makes me happy. But the TCCP not only focused on coaching, there's many coaching programs out there. It's through the ICF core competencies of coaching. So how do you work with your clients? What does that really look like? How to dive deeper into understanding the person as a whole, what it is that they're looking for. But I wanted to incorporate what sets it apart is that it's the business aspect. How do you take all of these ideas, your love of travel, and actually create a business out of it? Not only there's the community that you are welcome with open arms of these beautiful humans. I feel like honestly, when I started the TCN and what it is today, I feel like I've known everyone forever. I just hosted a group of members in Chicago, and we literally, some of you are on this call, Rena, and it feels like we've been best friends for so long. It's really a place of connection with everyone. So because of this webinar, because you're tuning in, because you registered, we are having a flash sale for the certification program. But why this also sets it apart, not only are you saving about $300, but Mike is going to be working with you and giving you his course for free. And this is something Mike hasn't done before, but we realized the value that this concept of transformative and meaningful travel has on travel professionals. And you need the guidance to figure out what does that look like moving forward in your business. And that looks different for everyone. So Mike, if you want to come back on and just talk about, just tune in here, tell them what's going on in your course that you've created.
Yeah, hopefully you guys all can hear me. Thank you again so much for just being here and just opportunity to share. And I'm excited to dive in deeper to get a chance to get into these principles with everyone. And what you're going to get from me and from Travel with Meaning, you're going to get 2 recorded videos where we'll actually dive into these principles, and you'll get some of the actual stories from our guests, and you can start to see this through line. We're going to actually help you to create a roadmap for yourself using these principles. So you can elevate yourself, your business, and your clients by taking these stories and relating it to others. And it's going to be really helpful for not only just future marketing, but also for you as a traveler and the future of travel. And this is something that Sahar and I have just been talking over the, months now. And I've been excited as just looking at all this wonderful research and conversation I've been having as ways to share it, right? It's not about me, it's about the we. How do I share all this data with all of you to help elevate the conversation to create this new dawn of travel? So I'm excited for that. And we're going to tell them also about this one really big, exciting thing. Should we do that?
Yeah, definitely. First, let you know, I dropped the link to, if you want to learn more about the TCCP and Mike's course, the link there is in the chat I just dropped. I'm also going to send it out in the thank you email after this with the replay. So I'll be sending the replay out to everyone. I know not everyone's able to stay as long or attend today for those who registered. So the replay was sent out with your opportunity to learn more about it. But yeah, Mike, if you want to, Mike has something special as well up his sleeve. And this was
absolutely.
a really great idea. And I love this.
Well, I want to say one last thing. So again, the part that I'm offering is it's 2 recorded videos and then a live session with me where we will all as a group just dive into what these principles and how they relate to you as well. So our mission with Travel with Meaning is encourage, inspire, and support travel. We encourage and we inspire through sharing these authentic travel stories. And we support travel by either helping people get on trips, doing giveaways, whatever that looks like. So anyone who actually signs up for this course through the flash sale, you'll be automatically entered in a 5-day camper van rental from Travelers Auto Barn. There's some blackout dates required or as part of that, but you can pick it up in either San Francisco, Las Vegas, or Los Angeles. And my quick backstory, because I didn't just pick some random camper van company, because that wouldn't be Travel with Meaning, now would it? Actually, back to that My Grateful Journey story I told you all about. I was in Australia trying to figure out how to get down the east coast of Australia. I could have hitchhiked, I could have taken a bus, I could have rented a car. I ended up connecting with the people at Travelers Auto Barn, and they gave me a van for 30 days to do social media before there was social media and to create content for them. They loved what I did. They hired me for other things. And we've kept this relationship over the years that when they opened their offices in Los Angeles and the United States, they hired me to help them with their brand awareness and marketing. And so I'm a big fan of this brand because personally, I've had the most incredible, meaningful moments just on the open road. And I want to share that as a gift to all of you that we can all talk about together. So again, if you sign up for this course, you're automatically entered to win. We will announce the winner when my course comes out for all of you in October. But until then, start looking at places that you can go on this 5-day road trip. I'm happy to help you with some of those places as well.
Wonderful. And keep in mind that Mike's course is free. It's free for those who joined the Travel Coach Certification Program during this flash sale. And it's only a limited time offer, but not only are you going to be able to figure out how it is that you can build and start and grow your own travel business, but you get the value that Mike gives you when it comes to the meaningful and transformative travel aspect of it. So I've never done this before, but I went to Mike because I know what I teach in my network, but I am also hyper aware what goes on in the industry, not only what companies are looking for and what travelers are looking for, and he's the go-to person for that. So I wanted to create a way for him to bring value to all of you as well, and to meet someone amazing like him. For those who are already in the program, because many of you are already here, I'm going to email you or reach out to me, but I'll send you an email, and there's an opportunity for you to join Just Mike's course, because I know you're already in the program. But the link there, like I mentioned, I'll drop it again here. Just someone, what if we already have it? Yep, just message you. Jess is almost done with her certification. I will message all of you already in the TCCP, but this is the link for the overall program.
And I have just one quick thing I'd love to say. First off, I just want to give a thank you to all of you for taking your time with us from around the world. Special shout out to my parents. I can see both my mom and dad.
I know, I saw them. I was like, wait, that must be his parents. There's so many Scheibels here.
So many Scheibels. I appreciate it, but also it's wonderful to see the transformation of the progression of their technology. And I can tell you the number of times traveling years ago of my dad trying to figure out FaceTime. So the fact that they're tuning in on a Zoom call today, I appreciate it. And Sahara, thank you for all you do. And for all your members of the Travel Coach Network. I really think it's such a beautiful process and conversation as we're all doing together. So thank you so much. Just honored to be here.
Yeah, and I want to say thank you all for who saved this long. We weren't trying to go over an hour, but we were just trying to put so much value for what you got to give to you guys in such a short time frame. So thank you all so much for joining today. Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you for everyone. You'll be hearing from me right after this. I'll be sending out the replay. And then message me if you have questions about anything at all. Be sure to follow Mike. In the email, I'll also send you his podcast if you weren't able to do the QR code there, but travelwithmeaning.com. But thank you again, and I look forward to watching and hopefully helping all of you grow your travel businesses. Bye, everyone.